Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have your own personal chef? And not just any chef that could cook up something delicious, but a chef that knows how to cook healthy and for your specific health needs. So many patients I speak to are suffering from chronic disease simply because they can't find the energy to cook in the kitchen and lack the skill set to cook a healthy meal. It becomes this vicious disease cycle of eating easy. And actually, that's contributing to their state of disease. But today's guest is here to help with that problem. He suffered from his own health struggles and found that through his own studies and actions, a holistic approach with a focus on food was able to help him. He's a movement artist, somatic bodyworker, and personal chef. Oren Yaari, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, hello.
So listen, Oren, I want you to start by telling us your own story and the health issues that led you into what you do today. So I'm going to let you take it away and share that story.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would say in middle school to high school, I suffered from a lot of stomach issues and skin problems. And I went to dermatologists, and it didn't seem like they had a clear understanding of why these things were happening. And I ended up just taking it on the journey on my own, and being, so young, I kind of was just like on a research mode, and I ended up just Googling, why does inflammation occur in the body? What is acne? Why does it arise? I started being very introspective about gut health and energy channels, and like, is it just the food I'm putting in my body, or is it my social sphere? Is it my school environment? I was closeted as a gay man, and I didn't know if that was contributing to all of the inflammation. So I had like all these like very esoteric but also concrete reasons why my body was at disease. And I started doing my own research. Like I was saying, I cut out a lot of foods. I got very strict on diet, and I was vegan and paleo and gluten-free and sugar-free, and like anything that would cause inflammation, I basically tried to cut out. And then I started reaching out to Ayurvedic practitioners as I got into college, because it started becoming an interest of mine. Like starting to cook and help heal myself was like very empowering. So I worked alongside a lot of health coaches and Ayurvedic catering people that would serve food. And I was basically a sous chef, and just learned how to meal prep and understand different combinations of food that help ground the body. And it was a really explosive time of like understanding my own body on a very fundamental level that didn't really rely on Western doctors. And I started getting to Ashtanga yoga and understanding more spiritual practices that could help, chakras. And I was experiencing really bad bloating, and I thought that had to do with like my second chakra being misaligned. And I started going deep into that. And to this day, I'm obviously, you learn as you go and you pick up a lot of tools, but I have a pretty good foundation of like what causes things in my body, and I'm able to observe it with a better framework. That's kind of where I'm at today.
It's interesting because you mentioned like, and I see it as a triangle, those issues of like gut, skin, emotions too, right? Those three kind of, and everyone kind of has something there. You got a little skin issue, the acne or something like that. Then you got to look at what you eat. But what you eat is so entangled also with your emotions, the stress and everything you can't digest as well. So, pay attention to those triangles, I will say, of everything in health. But, talking about eating easy, which I brought up in the intro there, a lot of people these days eat to be convenient, almost in a sense, whatever is quick. And we know junk food's out there, of course, stay away from that. We all stay away from packaged food, processed foods a lot. But I did want to bring up this idea that there's more and more of these meal prep services out there. And a lot are pitching as healthy, right? As I wanted to hear as a chef and as an understanding of holistic medicine and health, how do you feel about those meal prep services? Are you a fan?
Interesting. I think living in New York, we get bombarded with a lot of services like that come across as like holistic, we got your back, clean eating, all these like buzzwords. And then I never really know who's behind it all and like what the system really looks like. And because I meal prep for a couple people and a lot of my friends I'll cook for too. And they enjoy the experience because the source is right here. So it feels genuine. And I'm also like coming to your home and cooking some of the time. So that feels more reassuring for them. And I think on my end, I would also want someone just like a one person service versus like these big companies that you don't really know who's behind it and like how they're preparing it. And is it personalized to each person? I don't know. I haven't really got onto that train, but that's just my like framework.
No, I completely agree, because the idea of these large companies and you getting something fresh from them that's going to be personalized it's not, something that's feasible. When you get to there, you got to cut corners, you got to ship things that might not be fresh. You don't know is the bottom line. When you do something in your own kitchen, when you have someone you work with and you see what's going on, you're in control, and therefore you're empowered to make the health decisions. When you don't have that, and there's a lot going on behind closed doors, and then you just get something sent to you and you just eat it, you're taking a little bit of risk and you're not empowering yourself so much.
Totally. And I think I read this book once. It's called Mind Body Approach to Eating. And it talks about levels of nourishment that aren't just from the food itself, and how like nourishment is about the company that you're with and the environment and the context, and the actual kind of scene that you create with food is as important as the nutrients themselves. And I found that like working one-on-one with people, meal prepping in their homes, like just by myself or with my assistant, there is this sort of like energetic exchange that you give them and that you receive from the person. And it's very nourishing. You can't find that from, just like opening up a package from your mailbox or whatever.
Yeah.
If you get that.
Eating should be an experience. It really should. The preparation, who you're around, the energy you put in, the love you put into it, right? It's different when you do it that way, when you prep. And I do want to get into what would people expect if they were to work with you? Guide us through that process and how they would, suddenly engage in the process as well.
Yeah. So since I'm a dancer, I'm a yogi, I'm very interested in a very integrative, holistic approach to health. And so when I'm coming to someone regarding food and say they're cleansing and they want like a specific menu plan, I'm also interested in like understanding what their experiences of health is and what they're looking for, maybe beyond food also. So I usually set up a consultation and just get to know the person and see where they are in their health journey, because food and eating is only just one, spoke of the bicycle wheel. So I definitely want to get a full picture of what people are experiencing. And from there, I kind of go into what I can offer, which is a lot of like Ayurvedic style food, Mediterranean, usually grounding foods with a lot of healthy fats and like things that are going to last you throughout the day, so that we don't have to keep munching on like high carb snacks and stuff that give us a slow burn. so that we're not craving anything. And I work from a place of simplicity, because that's also an Ayurvedic gold standard, and it is just like eating simple food. So I kind of give my layout, and then we work on a menu plan together to see what the person needs, how many meals they need. If it's something that interests them, I can come and cook in the home and meal prep for them there. And yeah, that's kind of what my model is.
No, it's a really cool model, but I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, well, I wish I could have a private chef, but it sounds incredibly expensive. Can you flip that around? Because you're not someone that's going to be around 24/7, and just doing everything. So you're able to minimize, I guess, those real costs of having a private chef on hand, like the rich and famous do. What would you say to people as far as costs and expectations go there?
I would say, I'm human, and I understand that we all come from very different financial backgrounds. And I have a base rate, but honestly, it fluctuates, and it really depends on what the person needs. And I hope that money isn't something that would get in the way of like me offering a service. So I kind of start at a base rate, and from there it can either go up or down. And but really, my like passion is just to help people experience food in a very nourishing, safe way that I hope money doesn't corrode. So I don't make it like a huge, elephant in the room, but I do like to have like a base rate and see where it can go. And yeah, it's very fluid. Everything in my life is fortunately very fluid.
It's a good thing. You got to be able to go with it, right? Flow like water. And listen, I know that you've worked with a few of our patients, and they all raved about it. And it, in the minds of myself and the patient, it was incredibly affordable in that sense and very accessible. And I wanted to hear your insights into why patients and people with medical conditions should really think about this, even ones that may be skeptical and say, I'd rather just go out my own, because I know the benefit, but I want to hear from you because you worked with a few. Like, just got us through that experience of why a patient would want to work with you.
Mm. Well, let's just say I am not classically trained in, I didn't go to culinary school. I really learned a lot of my cooking through my grandma, or Safta in Hebrew, and a lot of the Jewish moms that I was raised with. I didn't have multiple Jewish moms. I had one Jewish mom, but I grew up in a community of Jewish mothers who bestowed to me a lot of beautiful recipes from our background, and just like Mediterranean food. And so a lot of my experience with cooking is like grassroots. And so I know what I know based on my own experience of cooking and nourishing myself, and working alongside the feminine warriors of my life. So I think when I approach working with someone, I bring a lot of like feminine, mother, nurturing energy that comes with a lot of personal experience, which I think like when working with a personal chef, you might not get a, I don't know. I feel like some of the people that you can hire can feel very clinical, and it feels very like someone's working for you, and the experience feels secular. Versus for me, I'm coming in as like full on mother. Like, what do we need? I'm bringing my own experience, which is a lot of where my knowledge comes from. And yeah, it's like a home environment that I want to create for people, versus like this, like I'm paying you for a service. Because that to me doesn't feel like deep nourishment. I want to come from a place of like, I don't know, rich understanding and creating safety in a food experience, because it's so personal. And I think that's what a lot of the the patients feel like is like we kind of create this familial dynamic versus, server and receiver, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I think part of it is also it's almost educational for the patient. They take this forward with them. They see you, they bond with you. You work with them to pick out what, foods they would like, what ingredients they'd like to start with and work on what exactly they're dealing with. And you have an understanding. Then you bring that in and prep and do these things with them a lot, which to me is part of the education and bonding with you during that and really learning. So you have that skill set sort of moving forward, or at least the interest when you do get better. So, and also patients are ones that during treatment, we know we want you to focus on resting, not having to go out, get foods after you do a large detox or have a bunch of procedures and maybe you're not in the best mood or have low energy. So you provide that service, but it's also the education, the connection, the relationship. There's more than just nourishment on that physical level. It's nourishment on multiple levels, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So 100%. Very, very cool. I mean, I'm happy that we're sort of partnering with you. And I hope more and more medical offices do this sort of thing where they provide these services outside, because healing, as much as it takes place in medical centers too, most of it takes place outside. And so much of it comes from your relationship with the food. And what you're doing is really strengthening that relationship and providing a healing diet to them. So that's awesome. Oren, where can people learn more about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm in the works of creating a website.
Yep.
But I think the best way is to honestly just have my phone number and my email, and we connect through that. But I don't have a public platform where people can read about what I've done.
Totally cool. We will put your email up. I mean, also, we will serve as a catalyst, of course, with all our patients. We'd love for them to connect with you as well and have that service available. And anyone else listening to this can absolutely go to the website, innovativemedicine.com. We'll put all your contact information up there so you could get in touch with these people and help more and more. Hey, listen, I got to ask you before we jump off, what's your favorite meal to cook? Do you have one? Or is it like change daily?
No, once I get hooked on a meal, it becomes a consistent thing in my life. Okay. One thing that I've been doing that I actually learned from my 86-year-old grandma, who has taught me a lot about cooking, is heating up. I take miso paste, and I take like a spoonful or two, and I put it in hot water, and I drink that, and I have miso in the morning as like a broth. And I found that like starting my day off with like even bone broth or anything like that, but the miso paste especially has like the savory, seaweedy taste that my body like yearns for in the morning. So I start with that. And when I go into more like concrete foods, my go-to is fresh sourdough bread. I also bake sourdough bread, and I work with a baker too occasionally. Her name is Carla, and it's called Apartment 2 Bread in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. And I take bread from her or my bread, and I slather it in avocado. I saute kale with a little bit of nutritional yeast and lemon, which makes kale taste very good. And I put that on the avocado toast, and then I'll have some like grass-fed or pasture-raised eggs, and just have that on the side, and then a little bit of sauerkraut for probiotics.
Amazing.
And very balancing, Ayurvedic, healthy fat, yummy, delicious meal to keep me going throughout the day. So I eat that almost like 4 times a week.
Nice. I mean, if you have something you like, if it's nutritious, if you know it works with your body, there's nothing wrong. And I think like a lot of people are like, oh, it's repetitive. Like some people just like eat chicken, all day and everything, but it's how you prepare it again. It's that you do it with those, like the kale with the yeast. I would have never thought of that, never done it that way. I'm going to try that out now, but it is, I think those are the kind of tips and tools that you could learn from having a personal chef around. And again, not having it 24/7, needing to put in so much, but this is an investment in your health. This is an investment in something that will make you feel better, work better, connect with people, about all these things. So there's a huge ROI. I've said this before. Dr. James D. Nicolantonio posted this, like cooking is the greatest ROI overall, like health, everything. Like if you know how to cook, it's the greatest ROI.
What is ROI?
Oh, return on investment. Sorry, I'm business background. Yeah. So, what you put in, you get back so much more. So there you go. You just learned something too.
There we go. Yeah. Food is, when you view it as medicine, it will alter everything in your life.
Yeah.
For me, it is. So,
and it should be. Everyone should view it that way. So
yeah, it's the groundwork. It's the foundation for all the other things, practices, relationships, spheres that we enter. It's how it's our body's metabolizing it, and we need it to be high vibrational as much as we can, and dealt with a lot of love.
Well said, my man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, as you heard, Oren, what you put in your body is so vital to the overall state of your health. And it's okay to admit you're not a good cook and actually ask for help. And people like Oren are making that easier than ever now. So check out his services, check out our website if you want to connect with him as well. And if you're a patient, reach out to us and we could arrange working with him. Until next time, keep writing your own healing story.